With the first Federation-Klingon War still burning in the minds of Federation citizens everywhere, Starfleet Command would begin a massive upgrade program that would see the Hiawatha Class come into existence. But what do we know about this amazing medical starship design? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, we're taking a look at the Hiawatha Class, a refit design first seen in Season 3 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Please note, Strange New Worlds Season 3 gave us a plethora of refit starship designs, taking those designs closer to the original series era of Starship class aesthetics. And so I thought I'd use my limited kit bashing skills to start to bring these classes to life in order for you good trinaries to get a good look at them. And I hope you enjoy. But as always, because this is just a beta canon video, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so, with all that out of the way, let's begin. The first Federation-Klingon War had been devastating for both Starfleet and the United Federation of Planets. Over a third of Starfleet's assets were either destroyed or heavily damaged during the war, and although the Federation somehow managed to prevail in this conflict as the victor, it was quite clear to the citizens of the Federation that Starfleet Command needed to step up its starship game and become the defensive force that it always claimed to be. And out of the ashes of the war, a sense of urgency would encompass the Federation, specifically Starfleet Starship Design and Construction Bureau, as well as its new Technological Advancement Departments. And this sense of urgency would lead those divisions to begin a massive upgrade and refit program the likes of which no one had ever seen before. What the general public didn't know at the time, however, was that Starfleet Command actually had another more pressing reason to upgrade its fleet at warp speed, as the Gorn hegemony began aggressively rearing its ugly head towards the Federation. Seen as an even bigger threat than the Klingon Empire, the Federation quickly initiated several peace initiatives to several enemy governments, including the aforementioned Klingon Empire and the seemingly dormant Romulan Star Empire, while Starfleet itself secretly poured much of its resources into the Starship development program and construction effort, while outwardly making it appear its focus was that of asset repair and rebuilding from the damage caused by the war to its star bases and colonies throughout the Federation. By the end of the 2250s, many of Starfleet's starship classes would receive various degrees of updates and refits, creating far more powerful starship designs while simultaneously taking very little time to implement these upgrades. And with the Gorn threat looming, in early 2260, the Hiawatha Class would be born. Sitting at a length of 599.5 meters, the Hiawatha Class was designed to be operated by 200 officers and crew members, with additional space for up to 500 additional medical personnel and medical facilities which could hold up to 3,000 patients. A dedicated hospital starship class, and technically considered to be a refit vessel design, the Hiawatha Class would actually be a major refit of the Haudenosaunee Class and renamed to the Hiawatha Class to honor the USS Hiawatha, a wrecked starship lost during the First Federation-Klingon War, which itself had gained somewhat of a hero status thanks to the actions of one of its officers, Jet Reno, who had managed to sustain several injured crew members for 10 months and 11 days before being rescued by a landing party from the USS Discovery in 2257. One of the major changes to the newly renamed Hiawatha Class would be the replacement of the class's nacelles with an uprated version of the nacelles used in Starfleet's pride and joy, the Constitution class. As a result, the Hiawatha class would have a standard safe cruising speed of warp factor 5 and an emergency maximum speed of warp factor 6.2 for 12-hour increments. All old warp scale, of course, and a significant increase over the class's previous warp specs. Tactically, the Hiawatha class originally had been lightly armed, with Starfleet Command and the Federation Council considering it inappropriate to include heavy armaments on a hospital Starship class. However, thanks again to the First Federation Klingon War, both organizations would secretly change this policy, including uprated dual phaser emitter banks as well as both forward and aft torpedo launching systems. The inclusion of both of these upgrades remaining classified as a tightly held secret until decades after the class's decommissioning, with Starfleet Command openly maintaining the ruse that the Hiawatha class was simply a harmless hospital Starship design. Shielding for the Hiawatha class would also receive a similar technological upgrade, bringing this Starship class's shield rating up close to that of again the Constitution class's capability. The Hiawatha class would also be one of the most modular Starship designs created within that era of Starfleet history. Containing 8 detachable and self-sustaining pods, these pods were capable of not only atmospheric flight and maneuvering, but each pod could also act as its own medical facility, landing on a devastated planet, rendering medical aid, while its Starship proper could continue on to another devastated planet, rendering aid there. Several additional pod styles, including a freighter and troop transport style, were developed, but thankfully were never tested out during a real war effort. 2 shuttle bay style pods would also be included in the class, containing all the latest medical auxiliary spacecraft that Starfleet had to offer. Though these pods too could be detached if required, they were considered a major component of the class, and thus rarely were. The Hiawatha class's launch would be a huge success for Starfleet Command, being seen as a major upgrade to the class that could render aid quickly and efficiently to any Federation member worlds which required it. And because of its success, the Hiawatha class would continue to operate within Federation space until almost the turn of the century, even though a newer refit version of the class would debut on the scene in 2279. It was not unusual to see both versions of the class operating in tandem to render aid. But in 2295, with the Klingon Peace Initiative and the evacuation plans for the Klingon homeworld in full swing, Starfleet Command would make the decision to decommission the class, deconstructing each starship into various other starship classes, after an extensive study proved that the Hiawatha class could not be easily converted into a class that could support the Klingon Initiative. And thus, in 2298, the last remaining vessel of the Hiawatha class would begin its decommissioning, ending the long active history of the class. Created as an upgrade honoring a fallen hero starship, the Hiawatha class's redesign and its longevity would prove the class's worth to the Federation at large, earning this medical starship design its valuable place in Starfleet and Federation history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon. What do you think of the Hiawatha class and the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel build a starship design for all your Federation medical needs? Then consider becoming a channel member subscriber or a channel patron, both a major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to both memberships is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.